In the United States, there are two regions with a disproportionately high frequency of tornadoes. Florida is one, and Tornado Alley in the south-central United States is the other. Tornado Alley is a nickname given to an area in the southern plains of the central United States that consistently experiences a high frequency of tornadoes each year. Tornadoes in this region typically happen in the late spring and occasionally in the early fall. Strong to more violent tornadoes, those of EF3 or stronger on the Enhanced Fujita Tornado Damage Intensity Scale, are relatively rare and do not typically occur outside the United States. Although the boundaries of Tornado Alley are debatable, depending which criteria you use, frequency, intensity, or events per unit area, the region from central Texas northward to northern Iowa and from central Kansas and Nebraska east to the western Ohio is often collectively known as Tornado Alley. Meteorologically, the region known as Tornado Alley is ideally situated for the formation of supercell thunderstorms, often the producers of violent EF-2 or greater tornadoes. Recently, however, on October 20th, 2019, a Sunday, an incredibly strong EF3 tornado surprised the entire Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex in North Texas, tearing through much of the city and destroying homes, schools, and leaving thousands without power. Winds easily breached 100 miles per hour while the tornado traveled over 17 miles through the city. It was easily the strongest tornado to hit the area since the summer of 1976. However, although this tornado was devastating throughout, at its worst point, the winds reached up to 140 miles per hour, directly above my hometown high school, St. Mark's School of Texas. As a graduate of St. Mark's, currently attending college in Pennsylvania, I was clearly out of the range of the tornado. I began receiving texts that evening from high school friends whose families were still living close by, and, of course, immediately thought of my mom and dad. At that time, I didn't have much solid information about the tornado's path or the destruction it had caused, only that it was eerily close to where many friends and family of mine lived. After hours of trying, I finally reached my parents for confirmation of their safety, and I settled down a bit, but my heart still ached for my community. The images that were being uploaded to Twitter showcased the devastation of my school, various establishments and restaurants I had frequented, and the surrounding neighborhoods. Entire buildings had been leveled. Now, to put this into context, personally, I care a great deal about my school. More than just a high school, St. Mark's has served as a home for boys all throughout the area, particularly through their mentor programs in which upperclassmen mentor middle schoolers and lower schoolers. What also helps support these programs is the fact that all years, 1st through 12th grade, all exist on the same campus and often interact together. With this in mind, I couldn't help but consider the emotional support and care that would be lost with the destruction of my school's campus and the surrounding area. St. Mark's School of Texas is a non-sectarian preparatory day school for boys in grades 1st through 12th in Dallas, Texas. The school has about 877 students that are spread across 1st through 12th grade, with 392 in the upper school, 335 in middle school, and about 150 in the lower school. The average class size is 16, and generally the overall student-to-faculty ratio is about 8-1. With such small classes in comparison to the average school, particularly with students staying on much longer than the average of 4 years, a campus culture has grown that truly focuses on setting students up for long-term success, but more importantly, creating gentlemen who set the standard in the world today. Because of this culture, alums across the world still retain strong ties to the school, and likely had similar reactions of helplessness upon seeing their former gymnasium, chapel, and various buildings reduced to rubble after the horrendous tornado. For me personally, although seeing the devastation of the buildings was quite upsetting, easily the most jarring image I saw was one of a school bus, often taken by the school's sports teams to away games, thrown off campus by violent winds. I stared at this image, remembering the times I had shared with friends aboard that tiny bus, listening to music in advance of soccer games in Fort Worth. It honestly made me sick to my stomach. However, even with this queasy feeling, I still wasn't there. I didn't see the destruction firsthand, but Christian Pereira, creative director for the Remarker, my school's newspaper, saw the destruction with his own eyes and truly showcases how I and many other alums felt. I can't believe it. There's no way my school could get hit. My second home for over a decade. My life. But then the picture of Hicks Gym comes in and I start to cry. It's a weird feeling. I guess I didn't realize how attached I was to this school until I saw it get hurt. But seeing Hicks in shambles, the bell tower, a landmark of the school with missing bricks and all those buses. Man, did we lose a lot of buses. I feel like something was ripped out of me. There's no way to describe how I felt when I actually saw it. The tennis courts, gone. Hicks Gymnasium, gone. The quad was barely visible because of all the debris and trees scattered all over, and the roofs of Deckard Auditorium and the chapel looked badly damaged. And I cried. But I noticed something. Countless crews patching the roof and moving debris. Security officers racing around in their golf carts, issuing warnings to bystanders. Productivity. My school looked like a dystopian young adult novel. And yet the people in it were energized and about. And it gave me hope. Hope that this institution will rise from the ashes stronger than ever. Hope it will continue to foster the strongest community I've ever been a part of. And hope in a decade, when I'm off doing who knows what, the stories of the last few weeks are not the grief the tornado caused, but the people who carried us through it. Christian had extra perspective on this tragedy that, as a faraway alum, I hadn't felt yet. He had hope. In the weeks that followed, despite being closed for nearly 2 weeks, the school community was incredibly active and positive. No one had died in the tornado. Thankfully, it had occurred on a Sunday evening. And although buildings and structures had been destroyed, there was this unique air of hope that had been completely unexpected. Despite the crazy good fortune of having no individuals die, there were many stories from that night that proved shocking and scary, showcasing the power of these horrific natural disasters. A nearby St. Mark's family's son had a bunk bed that covered him and kept him safe from the rest of the falling debris. There were dozens and dozens of these stories. Restaurant employees grabbing their customers and taking refuge in the walk-in freezer. The manager of a nearby Home Depot closing shop early because it looked bad out. Even my brother's best friend's grandmother was fortunate to escape the destruction. Her house, across the street from St. Mark's, was brutalized that night, but thankfully she was not there. A similar story occurred with the Dallas Stars' Tyler Seguin, a hockey player who has been with the hometown team for the past few years. The celebrity's home, a picturesque mansion vaguely close by to St. Mark's, was absolutely wrecked, with the eerie photos reminding me almost of a nuclear fallout. Fortunately, Sagan was actually attempting to sell the home and was not present at the time. However, these chilling stories showcase the terrifying might of these storms, as well as serve as a reminder that everyone is human and can be affected by disasters. So then how are they rebuilding? Obviously, the school wished to get back to having classes as quickly as possible, but the safety of the students and the employees had to be prioritized. Because of this, and the damage the tornado caused, St. Mark's had to close classes for almost 2 whole weeks. But think about a school like this. Individuals from different walks of life, doing different things daily, all supported by the same campus. Education, sports, college admissions, standardized tests, all were supported by the school. And without it, what would happen? Kindness happened. Other schools throughout Dallas reached out to my school, offering their backfields for football practice, their study rooms for college admission presentations, and just generally offering support to the more affected families from the storm. Our sister school, Hockaday, gladly made space for hardworking high school seniors who needed academic settings in which to work and apply for colleges. Even major sports rivals, such as nearby Greenhill School, put aside their previous differences and even hosted our homecoming on their campus.
We're like, please, let us host it. And I think that was a great feeling for us to be able to do that, especially if we were playing each other. It just made sense.
So St. Mark's blue and gold lined the Green Hill field with paint and goalpost covers, plus a sign welcoming the rival school.
Truly, natural disasters can be the ultimate unifier. So then, what's next? With the exception of certain families living nearby and the destruction to some buildings on campus, the long-term effects of the tornado on the campus are not that perceivable. School is now functioning again, and buildings are slowly being restored to their former glory. But if I know the type of men St. Mark's raises their students to be, they'll be taking a moment to give thanks for their own safety before rushing out and helping their extended community. With such a last-second, powerful tornado such as the F3 we're discussing, extreme damage is not limited to the location of the highest winds. There's no doubt in my mind that my school will serve as the standard for helping the entire Dallas community recover, whether through building homes for Habitat for Humanity, hosting clothing drives or food drives, or simply volunteering with organizations like the Salvation Army.